the long run, the security profile for both these development paradigms will at least be as bad as each other, just in different ways. But obviously, that's not good enough. It gives us no motivation to switch over to this whole new way of doing things and face all the new risks that come with it. We need a positive case to argue why going through this trouble is going to be worthwhile. And I think we have some strong cases to make. Hey everyone, this video is sampled from my online course which teaches you tokenomics for fundraising. You'll learn about the fundraising process, key tokenomic concepts, and get a complete spreadsheet model that you'll learn how to use by solving real-world fundraising problems. You can find the link to the full course in the description section below. And if you'd like to support this channel and help me to create more free content, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That's all. Now back to the video. Honest auditors can still make mistakes. I myself have seen contracts green-lighted by reputable audit firms that were subsequently exploited. So with all this said, we really should take some time to ask, is it worth it? Does this new application development paradigm, one that uses immutable, transparent smart contracts, deliver any substantive security improvements in comparison to traditional application development approaches? Let's take a look. First off, in the traditional paradigm, we need to make sure that code bases and their execution are well defended. Although to be fair, operating system environments probably take some of the pressure off here. Smart contract devs don't have to create these defenses because it's impossible to attack smart contract code or alter its execution once it's been deployed to the blockchain. So let's say that blockchains win on this point. But there's a flip side to immutability. Traditional software can be updated in response to new threats or detected errors. You can't do that with strictly immutable contracts. So the win here goes to the traditional approach, although if new blockchains develop some controlled upgradability standard, that could turn into a tie in the future. Next up is transparency, which in the traditional world is left to the discretion of the developer or the company and is the essential difference that differentiates open source versus closed source development approaches. On typical smart contract blockchains, bytecode transparency is guaranteed at a minimum and trustless source code verification is easily supported. This leads to a lot of transparency that's easy to inspect. Anybody can audit and double-check other people's audits. So let's give this advantage to blockchain. In traditional software, we rely on institutions to keep actors honest and to redress bad actions. But these are only effective with the largest and most accountable companies. Cross-border software-based internet crime is much harder to stop or put right. Similarly, we rely on large established marketplaces like Apple Store, Android's Play Store, in order to establish user confidence that we are not purchasing malicious appware. On the blockchain side, the presently established audit culture successfully does stop some malicious efforts, and the stronger and more capable that culture becomes, the more defense it will provide. It's likely we will see trusted stores and marketplaces develop in the future to help out as well. So let's call this one a tie. Traditional software has more opportunities to catch and counter errors and bad actors. They can establish control processes that kick in after the transaction is made, and they are also free to commit lots of computational resources in service of those tasks. On the smart contract side, the finality of transactions raises the stakes on smart contract errors and hacks. It also means that controls can only be applied before transactions are executed. And even then, those controls may be limited, since more complex controls require more computational resource, and that cost is usually borne by the end user. All that hands an advantage to the traditional approach. And finally, auditors are error-prone in both cases, so this one's a tie. Though we might say that there's a bit more pressure on blockchain auditors owing to the transparency of the development environment and the finality of transactions, but it's also true that there is more accumulated expertise and talent in the traditional space for the time being. So this comparison paints a nuanced picture. I don't see either side claiming an outright victory on the security debate here. We know that the traditional approach has its fair share of security vulnerabilities. Some high-profile hacks do get reported, and one wonders whether our mental picture of the risk is unbiased, since low-level hacks and scams involving conventional software are now so routine that they are underreported in the media. There do seem to be some special constraints that apply to the smart contract approach, though. But at the same time, these aren't issues that we won't be able to learn how to deal with better with more development experience. We can also expect more security services to develop, which will help us out in the future. These could include real-time checks that run in a very similar way to antivirus software, which we now spend so little time thinking about. So I think it's credible to argue that in the long run, the security profile for both these development paradigms will at least be as bad as each other, just in different ways. But obviously, that's not good enough. It gives us no motivation to switch over to this whole new way of doing things and face all the new risks that come with it. We need a positive case to argue why going through this trouble is going to be worthwhile. And I think we have some strong cases to make. Blockchain smart contracts are uniquely positioned to meet user standards, remove hidden trust costs, and to capitalize on an open economy boom. Let's unpack each of these points one at a time. As we now know, blockchain ledgers grant users strong control and rights of use privileges over their digital assets. That was how the digital asset concept was innovated, and no alternative formats have emerged to challenge it for over a decade, which has helped to cement expectations that these control privileges are essential to what digital asset ownership entails. In addition to that, a substantial economy has taken root in these blockchain networks. That makes these existing blockchains, with all their users, assets, apps, and all much, much more attractive to join and build upon in comparison to starting all over with a brand new, incompatible digital asset framework. All of these factors favor the likelihood of user expectations remaining anchored to the blockchain standard for the foreseeable future. And in that world, any service that interacts with those users' assets without transparency will be at a disadvantage next to a transparent competitor. This doesn't mean that all businesses will have to become fully transparent. Today, centralized exchanges, savings, and lending platforms are among the most successful businesses in blockchain, and they are certainly not transparent. However, as transparency becomes better supported and more prevalent, future non-transparent operators will have to pay ever larger trust premiums to operate in the blockchain economy. Projects will either have to pay more for expensive executives or investors that have strong public profiles that can garner user trust. Or else they will need to follow slow and expensive processes to secure guarantees through conventional legal means. The other approach could be growing more slowly in order to establish their own public track record in operations. Now compare that with a service built with transparent smart contracts. If those contracts receive good, credible audits, those projects may be able to reach commercially effective levels of trust at a lower financial cost earlier in the project's life. And that will allow them to grow faster and to be in a position to negotiate better terms for their growth capital. Finally, public smart contract development is likely to be in a privileged position to take advantage of the special opportunities presented by an open blockchain economy. The combination of user demand for transparency and strong support for it is likely to be reciprocated by developers. And that means that a lot of economic activity is going to be governed by code that is quasi-open source. I say quasi because immutability prevents the crowdsourcing of improvements that we see in conventional open source development models. Nevertheless, this still offers some important benefits. Developers can build on top of and reuse existing, validated, and well-tested smart contracts. Or else they'll be able to learn from them to develop new and more advanced features. Projects stand to benefit from the accumulated security know-how stored in these successful designs and enjoy shorter development times thanks to them not having to reinvent the wheel each and every time. This environment helps to support a faster pace of innovation overall, with successful new projects then becoming nodes which catalyze further growth in that ecosystem. Okay, that concludes this topic on smart contract features. We've said quite a lot, but in other ways we've said very little at the same time. Our account so far has been very high level and abstract. It's like me showing you screenshots of a new coding language and expecting you to grasp all the things we can build with that kind of tool. So not very helpful, I know. So let's now start digging in to look at what you can actually do with this smart contract technology.